At lunch, they do it again. The place is too loud, the fries are cold, the parking lot was a mess, their boss sent another weird email, and somehow even the lemonade tastes wrong. Everyone at the table knows this person. By the third complaint, people stop hearing the details and start hearing a type. Difficult, negative, exhausting. The person who can find the problem in any room. And sometimes that is true. Some people do use complaining as a way to control the room, pull attention toward themselves, or make ordinary life heavier for everyone around them. But that is not the whole picture, and it is usually not the part people misread. Because constant complaining is often less about the thing being described and more about what the person does not know how to hold quietly inside. A lot of people who complain all the time are not simply reacting to bad coffee, slow traffic, or one annoying text. They are externalizing friction. Their inner discomfort does not stay inside as a private signal. It spills outward almost immediately and becomes language. Instead of feeling pressure and metabolizing it internally, they narrate it. They turn tension into commentary. That is why the complaint can sound strangely automatic. The line is out of their mouth before they have even decided whether the thing matters. The room is cold. The line is long. The music is bad. My back hurts. This app is so stupid. It can look dramatic from the outside, but from the inside, it often works more like fast emotional discharge. For some people, complaining is one of the only ways they know they are having a feeling. Saying it out loud makes it real enough to locate. If they keep it private, it stays vague and buzzing. Once it becomes words, at least it has edges. At least it can be shared. At least another person can hold part of it for a second. That is also why chronic complaining often appears in ordinary, low-stakes moments. The complaint is not always proportional to the event, because the event is not the whole event. A delayed order, a noisy neighbor, a mild inconvenience at work can become the surface where older frustration lands. What comes out sounds like a reaction to now, but it's often carrying leftovers from before. People around them usually respond to the literal content first. They offer solutions, ignore it, send the email, take the refund, just leave early next time. But a lot of chronic complainers are not actually asking for a fix in that moment. They are trying to redistribute internal pressure. They want the feeling witnessed, not solved, which is exactly why everyone around them starts feeling trapped. The listener hears a problem and instinctively prepares for repair, but the speaker is using the complaint for regulation, not resolution. This is part of why chronic complaining can exhaust people so quickly. It's not just the negativity, it's the open loop. Every complaint quietly hands the room a task. Even when no one is explicitly asked to help, everybody can feel the demand sitting there. Respond, agree, soothe me, join me, confirm that this is as bad as it feels. When that happens once in a while, it feels human. When it happens every day, it feels like being recruited into someone else's nervous system. There's also another layer underneath it, too. Complaining can be a safer form of vulnerability than saying what's actually wrong. It's easier to say this week is impossible than to say I feel like I am failing. Easier to say nobody around here knows what they are doing than to say I feel out of control. Easier to criticize the restaurant, the meeting, the weather, the app, the traffic, than to admit you are raw, disappointed, lonely, ashamed, or scared. The complaint becomes a socially acceptable wrapper around the more exposed feeling. That is why some chronic complainers don't seem relieved even when people agree with them. Agreement helped for a second, but it doesn't reach the deeper thing. The real discomfort was never only about the traffic or the service or the message tone. Those were just usable surfaces. The deeper feeling remains intact, and so another complaint has to arrive soon after to keep the system moving. A person's history matters here. Some people grew up in homes where scanning for what was wrong was the main emotional language in the room. Nobody said, I feel overwhelmed. They said, this house is a mess, money is tight, why is this always happening, what did you do now? The atmosphere was built out of irritation, problem noticing, and low-grade alarm. So later in life, calm description can feel unnatural. Complaining feels normal because tension was always spoken in that dialect. In some families, closeness was built through shared dissatisfaction. Talking warmly was awkward, but talking about what was wrong felt easy. So the adult child learns an odd equation. Complaint equals connection. Bring up what's irritating, and now we're relating. notice what's broken, and now there's energy between us. That pattern can travel very far into adult friendships, work conversations, dating, even parenting. There's also a quieter reason some people complain so much. They don't trust good experience to hold. They're quicker to register what's off than what's fine. Their attention goes first to friction because friction feels important. It feels safer to notice the flaw before the flaw hurts you more. In that sense, chronic complaining can function like low-level prediction. If I name the bad thing fast enough, maybe I stay one step ahead of disappointment. From the outside, this can look like pessimism as a personality, but often it behaves more like chronic preparedness. The person is not always enjoying the negativity. Sometimes they are trying to reduce surprise. Sometimes they are trying to make sure the discomfort doesn't arrive alone. Sometimes they are trying to control the feeling by announcing it before it grows. None of this makes chronic complaining easy to live around. Being psychologically understandable doesn't make it lightweight. People who complain all the time can drain a room, flatten a good mood, and make other people feel like nothing is ever enough. The misread is not that others are wrong to feel tired. The misread is thinking the behavior is always just shallowness, ingratitude, or bad attitude. Sometimes it is those things, but sometimes it's an unskilled way of carrying to stress in public. And that difference matters, because once you see chronic complaining as a pattern of externalized strain, a lot of the small details start making more sense. The timing makes sense, the repetition makes sense, the way the complaint appears before reflection makes sense, the way solutions fail makes sense. Even the strange intimacy of it makes sense. The person is not only describing the world, they are trying to get their internal weather out into the room. The saddest version of this pattern is not the loudest one. It's the person who has complained for so long that they no longer hear it as complaining to themselves. It just sounds like normal speech to them, a running commentary of friction, a reflexive naming of what disappoints, annoys, delays, aches, costs too much, takes too long, or feels unfair. By then, the complaint is no longer a reaction. It's a home language. So when people ask what they are missing about someone who always complains, the answer is usually not hidden genius or secret depth. It's something simpler and more human. Very often you are looking at a person whose discomfort doesn't stay private for long, and whose most available form of self-expression is friction. What looks like complaining is sometimes a person trying not to carry all their discomfort alone.